on Star Trek Reliant. The Reliant had spent a good amount of time, probably a couple of months or a month or some minor amount of time had passed, and the Reliant was exploring a world that was prone to seismic disaster and probably had something with the condition of one of the moons that they were checking out. And Reliant detected something that I thought was going to trouble you right out, but didn't. The fact was Orion fighter that had small scale cloaking and just for themselves. Not they didn't have any kind of big cloaking or anything, but still, it's not something that the Orion normally have. And you found the Orion that you had worked with a planet of. We're gonna have to come up with a good name. This is like gonna be a big battle tonight.
Wait, I got it. Umpius.
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 Okay.
Or Lumpius. Umpius or Lumpius.
Battle. We'll have to come up with a name. Everybody think of a cool.
But wait, I got one.
The Orion. Okay, what is it?
Lapadas.
Lapadas. I love it. The Battle of Lapadas. Write that in our game time chat so that we can make sure to add it to as this is that. So this is the Battle of Lapadas. And the Orion that you had worked with on Lapadas, who had worked with Elenis or had worked with Kendra when you came here and investigated different places, the Undine infiltrator might have been you, and I can't remember which you dealt with.
I think it was Dara.
With Dara, Dara is definitely the Orion that you dealt with, and what you know of her is what I had told you is that you know that she is efficient, smart, and friendly, but not seductively friendly. The Orion lieutenant that had come along with her and you just simply obeyed her. I know you weren't there for that episode, so that's why I'm telling you again what you know about her. Efficient and smart, and she is friendly without being over friendly. She also seems reasonable. That much seems like a reasonable person. So they pretended to lie about why they were there, and then they were leaving Reliant there with knowledge that the warp trail that they left was pointing them toward Lapadas. And Reliant received word that a Klingon invasion is on its way to Lapadas. It has the Oompa Loompa episode ended, by the way, Kendra. It ended with Whately and I can't remember who was with Whately at the time, but they discovered that the person that they went to go see was it was the one that was like uber fashion. I can't remember. It was the female, the woman who was who had devoted following, was so they discovered that that one of her advisors was the Undine. The Undine was fought on the planet. The Undine beamed up to a ship, and there was going to be one of those moments in the second or third episode for the players where you fight a bio ship and have to hold them off. But they just sent Lieutenant Tardigrade over and ended that real quick. So that's how the original episode ended, and the planet was left with only leaders. A hippie kind of guy who really wasn't that great. He was maybe better than some of the others. He died, yeah. And the one that, but regardless, you're going back there, hung at the edge of the system to monitor what the Orion ship, the Iron Vault, was doing in the system. And in short order, another slave master battle and another slave master battleship that recognized as the ship that you scanned when the ship that you scanned from the computer systems aboard the very first starbase that you ever stopped at, the redheaded her Mina. It is her ship that warps into the area, and then a ship that is larger than any Orion ship any of you had ever seen. You probably know that such a thing exists. I don't remember what Hassan's Juggernaut of in terms of a class of ship. War barge, yes. So a war barge, which is bigger than a slave master battleship, also warped in. I can't remember exactly what happened at the end that you guys wanted to say something, but they realized that something was on the outside of the system, and so they all launched what was like watching the sky filled with bugs in front of as the light reflected off of the surface of the planet, because just so many little fighter craft flying out of those ships, and you punched it, got out of there, and then they just hung at the edge of the system. I'm assuming, because I remember you saying it at the end of the episode, that as you're warping away, Marcus is sending a report to command station at your home star base, Epsilon 10. And that will be where we pick up, as you know, our I encourage people to look at our first season credits roll, as we have Reliant, the USS Reliant, starring Marcus Graves, played by Duncan Idaho.
Woot.
Commander Elenis Kendra, the first officer of the ship, played by Elenis Kendra.
Greetings.
We have Rick Tier, the chief engineer, Baz, who is also our system expert.
Howdy, y'all.
We've got cast playing Quentin Reynolds, chief science officer on board. we have we have our friend Nick playing Dr. Eli O'Connor, the chief medical officer. That's me. We have our friend Jarlin playing Kara Junrani, an IBI officer, race created by another player, Duncan, who plays our captain. Jarlin
what do you
plays
mean
Kara.
The ship is not equipped with fuses or circuit breakers?
We have the grumpy old Nord playing one of the more interesting next generation-y type STO timeline setting. He's playing a chaplain of a multi-faith chapel, and also a powerful Beta Zed who serves a position on the bridge in away teams, often like Donna Troy did. That's grumpy old Nord.
Greetings and salutations.
We also have with us tonight Starfarer Theta, who plays the exocomp officer on board, slowly gaining sentience, Oakley. We do most of the talking for Oakley, and he'll often tell us what kind of faces and displays. Beep boop bop. So anyway, that the Reliant hits the warp corridor, and it becomes your communication is open, and unless you want to say that you weren't going to send the report, as soon as your communication is stable and safe, Larissa is beaming the report that you wanted sent to, unless there is another thing to do instead of that.
Well, you're giving me the option, so now I'm second guessing that approach. Okay, so here's kind of the thing: we're being pursued by a lot of fighters.
Actually, Larissa.
We're not being pursued.
Larissa will say, that would be as you hit the warp corridor. Larissa would say, "No pursuit, sir. I've got the message ready to send a command through Epsilon 10."
How sure are we that the Orions can't burn encryption?
Not sure of anything.
All right. Yeah, let's go ahead. Definitely we can't handle this on our own, and if any surprises are waiting in store for us, we will certainly need a lot of backup. I want everyone at their stations and prepared for, unfortunately, battle. Should it come to it. Also be scanning for tachyon emissions anywhere in our vicinity to make sure we're not running into any cloaked vessels.
Like everybody probably starts looking at their stations like, wow, okay. Battle. And you have 10 minutes. People are at you're at your stations. I believe that almost all of you. I remember at the end of last game, Dr. O'Connor was on the bridge. So all of you are on the bridge. Yeah, and able to discuss the messages sent. And anybody who wants to look, yes, it pings perfectly through Epsilon 10 and is sent to command. And now all you can do is wait. Begin.
Well, I'd like to check to see if there's any power readings, any abnormal power readings not related to the native systems on the planet.
Ooh, long range scans?
Well,
Ooh, if we're at this point, we're in pursuit, or we could be alerting the Orions to our location with a long range scan, and they may decide to us. Those are 3 large vessels, and they may be able to outgun us to power.
What passive sensors do we have that would assume?
That's a good question. It's a question for someone who knows the ship.
I mean, Rick would know, but this is sort of a GM question.
What's the question, Baz?
Would the Reliant have any passive sensors that would be able to pick up signs of
It'd have to be
okay.
Long range. I believe anyway. My call would be long range aren't really passive. Unless all you're trying to do is like pick up a signal.
Okay, then then don't worry.
So Graves at this point will also order us to take an evasive, so let's not keep to the same trajectory that we were at, and let's use surprise moves. Also scan for anything that may be able to hide us.
Question.
Not the first most obvious thing. That's something each torpedo.
Are we still at warp?
Yes.
Kara immediately just looks back at Captain Graves and says, "Sir, at warp, my maneuvering options are limited."
Let's not go straight. Turn slightly in some direction. So Graves has still kind of got that like, well, how do we deal with this?
The minutes pass, and it's how do we deal with this? Turn a little bit. We're at warp, sir. Turn.
Turn
everybody
slightly.
realizes, like the immediate moment after sending the message to command is actually a little bit tense. Like Moon is looking around like he doesn't quite like at this moment. He definitely, and it is 5 minutes and 47 seconds later that that Larissa says, "Captain,
Aye.
Message coming from command. Captain's eyes only. You want me to send
in my
it to
ready
you?
room.
Sends it to your ready room, and the rest of you have a few minutes to chat while Graves goes to his ready room. We're going to do some chat on the bridge first, while the captain the bridge. And when all I will say, Captain, is when the same images that I shared with you before, as well as Commander Shoko Fudagami, what she vaguely I'm hoping you do. You're like, nope, I'm drawing a blank.
No, I am drawing a blank here.
She was one of the contacts. Let me see if I can find Shoko.
Well, let's put it this way: if original Foundry contact, I probably know the asset.
Right. Let's see. Here she is.
Found it. Yeah, I found it. Oh yeah, exactly what I thought.
Yep. Commander, Earth Space Dock. Yep.
Got it.
That's the person in charge of Epsilon. Also on with the 4 characters that are or with the 3 characters that I have listed right there.
For the audience, let's describe them as a Tellarite played by John Cleese.
A Tellarite played by John Cleese. A human that looks and has like the physical stance, etc., of an older Rick Moranis. And a human woman with a somewhat serious expression, red hair, played by Melinda Clark. I can't find a good picture of Shoko Fudagami.
I already found one.
Great. Great.
Yeah, so
you have one then. So there are 4 people on screen with you, and Commander Fudagami says, "Captains," and then we cut to the bridge where the captain just left, and his ready room door slides shut. Did he say anything?
Kara's gotten herself a soda and she's just drinking it. Screw this. But then I think Kara's general response to most things is, screw this.
Rick's not saying anything. He's just like keeping an eye out. You can tell he's sort of ready to react.
To whatever happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are long silent moments as in the ready Rudagami says, Captains, I've received word back from you're not going to like it. The Klingon fleet that is en route to, what was the name of the world again, Duncan? Lapont?
Lapadas.
Lapadas. The Klingon fleet that is on the way to Lapadas is an occupation. For us to respond, we have got to control the system, or at least have a fighting wrestle for control of the system and know what is on the planet. The second exploration has been instructed rendezvous outside the Lapadas system and go in to break the Orion and get a survey team on the planet, including anthropological officers. And she sits back waiting for the four of you to respond. That's not good. You know that Captain Graves, the one played by Rick Moranis, he is the captain of a pure science research vessel. The Tellarite, he is the captain of a multi-mission profile ship, much like the Reliant. The Reliant is a profile ship. His is just bigger and this is a bigger multi-mission profile ship, and also more dedicated towards scientific exploration and not nearly as modular as Reliant. The only ship that counts as really a warship is Reliant could be outfitted like one, but it's not currently. And there's a Galaxy class out there. Captain Casey is the name. And just so you know, I went so far as to go look up the meanings of Irish names. And Captain Casey, her name means that she is vigilant during wartime and a watcher. So, just a little trivia. So that is the people on screen with you and Commander Fudagami. Do you have anything to say, Marcus, before you with the others have to say?
What good would an anthropological team do if we don't secure the system and don't have any guarantees that we will secure the system?
Because if it comes to it, we are ordered to figure out how to fight the Klingon system by best. She chokes on the words by best manipulous.
As in getting them to do something they don't want to do.
She says we know very little of their traditions, and that is why we believe that someone with an anthropological background may come in handy on the planet's surface. Go ahead.
Graves says there's an underlying question here that is a pretty significant one, where we're pushing the Klingons out because of our interest. And doing so with the local population is going to get a lot of damage to that planet, especially if we're not unseen and have overwhelming fire control over that situation. So my question to Command is simply this. Are we doing this for us, or are we doing it for them?
Ground team, she says, I understand that you have questions, Captain. The human science officer actually wears a captain's bars on his neck, but the area of his uniform that would normally be red for being a command officer keeps it blue, but a darker blue, not like it's like a very like a darker science. And he says, not the least to mention that my ship at the very least is not equipped for combat. We have nothing but the most basic weapon and defensive.
Reliant also isn't.
Yeah, and you say the Reliant also isn't. The Tellarite says, well, then I guess it's a good thing that the Toledo is fully armed and ready to go.
Against 3 carriers.
Armed and ready to loan. And the Captain Casey says, "Gentlemen, that gets us nowhere. We need to figure out how to surprise them. We have our order." And she says, "We have our orders, and only those who make like a really like you have to get 3 successes on a perception kind of success, right? I mean, you guys might as well roll it. You can go ahead and roll it if you want to. But she basically says, we have our order, and if anybody rolls 3 successes on their 2 dice.
Wait, hold on. So for Graves,
Insight command.
I need.
Yep,
Well, hold on. I'm checking his stats and making sure I'm using my abilities. So information gathering is a focus.
It's not information gathering. It's just catching something that she says offhand.
What about constantly watching, or if I attempt to task to detect danger hidden enemies, D by 1?
She's not a hidden enemy.
She am detecting danger.
She's not dangerous either.
Is the information?
Nope.
As in, okay.
Nope. You guys, this is after, obviously after Fudagami, has given the order.
All right. So it's Insight Command?
Yep. May make the roll. Insight command. Yep. You don't catch it, but just, for the audience, she's like, we have our orders.
I didn't catch
that. Saints preserve us. She like mutters under, we need to figure out a way to, at the very least, rise. From what we're seeing on your sensor logs, Graves, they have overwhelming fighter superiority.
All right. So, might be some things.
Fudagami says, rendezvous as quick as possible. I'm trying to get you help as quick.
So, is there going to be a moment where Fudagami's off the comm, but the other captains are still?
Yes.
Okay.
She says, rendezvous as quickly as possible, Captain. I don't like you more than you, but Starfleet command system to be of tactical value going. And her her screen, boom, she's no longer on the call. And the Captain Gates, played by Rick Moranis, he looks nervous. He's let me think. What you know of him, in the most basic sense, what you know of the captain of the Athens, the Nebula class starship in your fleet, you know of him is that he is nervous around command, but a brilliant scientist. Been doing it for a very long time, as like wonderful thoughts about science. And what you know about Captain Koruth, was that the name? I have to go look it up again. Where did I put it, man? Captain Kofak, the Tellarite. What you know about him, that he is he's essentially a cross science and engineer who is known for being inventive and having solutions on board the Toledo that aren't regulation and by the book. Basically, he's Q without without anything to train him except for his own officers. What you know about Captain Casey is that she is by the book, except when the book. That's like the one or a couple of about the other 3 captains you're now on. She sits back. Bates looks nervous, and Tellarite looks pompous, but can tell he's covered. Not any more happy about this than the other had.
Oh, I was just typing something because whatever you're doing, we can actually a little bit. So anyway, Graves is in this situation where he's just a lieutenant, just kind of sitting there, but he's also kind of got that little bit of a rebellious streak in him, a little bit of that streak kid. So he kind of has this sort of like, I'll raise my hand, and he asks Gates, with that Nebula class, how much of a can you generate gravitons with your main deflector?
Barely.
Can you create a small singularity?
A little bit more difficult, but we'll do it.
Let's see. If we're overwhelmed by fighter support, fighters are really not going to have carriers. It's probably not going to have that much of an effect on, but we can certainly try if it comes to it. But if we're surrounded by fighters, a small singularity would draw them together, potentially damage them, but at the very least make torpedo the entire lot pretty darn easy.
We can hope. I'll get my people on that right away. I was also thinking, if we can get all of our vessels together, that's four transwarp drives to play with. That's 4 transwarp tunnels for and the Tellarite goes 4 transwarp tunnels for us. Damn, we could pop out right in the middle of them.
Yeah. So the carriers themselves are probably still going to have a lot of firepower just because that's how the Orions run. But the fighters are going to be what they're assuming is going to basically wear us down. So if we can use a singularity to take out the fighters, that leaves them with fewer tactical options. But I'm still hopeful that we might be able to do something that avoids an all-out battle because, yeah, the population didn't ask for this, and Starfleet's looking for a tactical advantage. When last I was interacting, there's definitely a better way of interacting with the Klingons.
Captain sits forward and says, I'm one to follow orders. Is that when those orders people who ask for it? If we can keep this in the air, let's keep this off the planet. But there is a Klingon fleet coming in, and we're gonna have
what are the angles here of...
She says, and they are not care about whether the people on...
True, but let's think about this from the Klingon point of view. They're sending a fleet out here, all the way in previously uncharted space, when that fleet could have been put to the war effort. What are the...
She says she kind of looks like she's looking at the quadrant, like, so she's looking at the 3 of you on her. Says this is the war effort. This system, she says, if I had to, and I don't have to guess, we can probably find out if we want to. This system probably close to and possibly used as a staging ground for either the Federation or the Klingon Empire to push raids into the other's territory. We're very, very close.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can do that from any point along the neutral zone as well. I mean, going out into basically left field, there's some resources here, but that matters more to the Orions than the Klingons. The Orions, I mean, they're doing that legwork, but at the same time, why are they going so far?
The Tellarite says they probably expect to send an exploration out here, which means they didn't expect Starfleet to even think about this planet. How easy is it for an invasion force to take a planet that is by no means technological what they provide? Klingons would roll over this place.
They would, but at the same time, they would also be thinking, if it's so strategically obvious to them, they should have expected us to take a look as well. But that wasn't the context it was met with. So, did the situation here change?
Originally, according to reports, looks like you met up Orion and Gorn scouts that were looking into classified in this planet.
Where did the Gorn go? And it's kind of like more of a question for Graves is asking himself.
You say, where did the Gorn go? And I, somehow in my mind, I can imagine John Cleese's accent saying it with like a shrug going, do Gorn stuff. As a Tellarite. Where did the Gorn go? To do Gorn stuff.
Graves is pretty suspicious based on what he found in Karn, and just the entire situation from the Klingon side kind of stinks to him. Between because the Gorn have basically ceded whatever they were hoping to gain from here. Orions have stepped up and are basically handing the Klingons a planet for a pat on the back when they could have used this point too to launch pirate raids and then have kept it after the war, especially if no one found out since it's so far off the radar.
I'm going to remind two players in that they have for when the captain walks out of the ready room. Both Kendra and Waitley realize that Dara, let me double check their names, that Dara probably most reasonable and likely to talk. that whatever the sisters are doing on the planet, whatever they are hoping to gain this whole deal, is already going. It was probably going on before you even arrived to start observing.
Yeah.
That there is motivation to get down there and figure out what the Orions are to get, because you're so I'm just reminding Waitley and Kendra both have that information. And Casey leans forward and her hands meet just below like her face level, and she looks and says, we're already en route to the rendezvous to give you gentlemen time with our transwarp core and see we got a little bit of time. We need to go in there like a feat, and I like the surprising, and we need to decide what we are going to launch. Probably.
I vote for lots of torpedoes. Like,
I like that too.
Here's a thought. For firing torpedoes, that gives us, we have a reload time associated with that. Could we set up a bunch of torpedoes moving along with us? That then
she says, Captain, and it's one of those moments where you're like, right, she's on the flagship, and she says, Captain, I enthusiasm, set course. We'll see each other in 10 minutes. And and her screen goes blank. Moranis's screen is like, see you there, gentlemen. Goes blank. And the Tellarite, John Cleese playing the Tellarite, looks over at you and says, all good. And the screen goes blank, and that's the end of your call.
So Graves will, just before we move back to the bridge, Graves has one reaction.
That's about a 15-minute call, which is awesome. Now, on the bridge, did you guys want to do anything for 15 minutes while Marcus had that call?
I do have a quick system rules comment. Torpedoes don't actually need special calibration. Some do, but for photon torpedoes loaded and shot out about the same rate as you'd be able to shoot one.
So,
nice.
Yeah, so Graves' idea was basically just have a lot of torpedoes, just beam them off the ship, like have them sort of in our warp bubble. So when we come out of warp, they're still traveling at some velocity, and it's just a massive like wall of basically mine.
The difficulty there is if you miss, what if the planet is behind them and you miss? You're bombing the planet. The problem generally in a lot of
not
space...
if we put them on it. If we put them on a time detonator.
If we put them on a time detonator, I don't want to travel them.
Well, okay. Anyway, you guys can do your scene, because you need to go do your roleplay. Talkie.
Wheatley's just sitting there quietly reading from his little console station at the bridge, occasionally snarking a little bit in the direction of the ready room, but mostly just staying quiet.
Carr, at this point, noting the length of the meeting, is just slowly starting to sing Get Ready to Die.
There must be something we can do to prepare.
I'm open to ideas.
Waitley.
Yes.
Insight is 11, and command is 4. Your target number is 15, and you have a focus that applies crit on 4 or less. You get 2 dice each time. You have 4 opportunity to care about finding out about the commander of Epsilon 10, in which case she goes. So start, Waitley, since you, I'm just going to let Waitley make 4 rolls real quick, and then I will type him the information, a private message.
Well, Kara's going to go ahead and spend the time reviewing the attack patterns, or in this case, mostly the defense patterns, things like attack pattern Delta. She's not looking to win this fight, she's looking to live through.
And you said 4 attempts, right?
Yes, because there are 4 people you could possibly read in the time that they are on. And this is something you've never done before. By the way, this is
wait.
Yeah, I think that did that wrong.
Yeah, you got to type 15 after it.
Okay. That's
you need 20 or 15.
Baz interpreted it. That's successes on Commander Fudagami.
4 successes now.
Or, oh my god.
And he's got
another success on the second attempt. I think they're different people that...
Ooh.
There we go.
Momentum.
We got 2 points of momentum from that, I believe.
I'll pop down there in a second, but go ahead and start role-playing as I start sending Nord some information, and he'll explain whether you got momentum or not after he gets this information.
Kara, again, is just busy checking all the attack patterns. She only has secondary access to fire control, so she's not worried about that.
Add a character. Do we have any do we have Klingons on long range sensors at all? Like, do we have
Not
their
yet.
warp trails?
Not yet. You do not have Klingons. So what was it? It was 3 on the first one. 4 on the second one?
1 on the second one, 1 on the third, 3 on the fourth.
Okay. That works for me.
Do we have any ideas what they're planning on? We can somehow interfere with that.
Best guess, they're going to beam down a bunch of angry Klingons with guns, tell the Navy to surrender or die, and start building supply caches and star bases so that they can raid the Federation.
Yes, but
Just a
why
guess.
why are the Orions here now?
I don't know.
The Klingons don't need the Orions here if they're just going to invade. There's something else.
The Klingons and the Orions may not have the same goal. Maybe that's why the Orions are here first. Maybe there's something else they want.
I'm gonna, he's gonna try, but I'm gonna assume he fails. He doesn't have a great insight, and it's gonna be really difficult anyway to try and get any sense of what the Orions are doing. Beyond, so Richter sort of picks up a tab and he picks up a pad and just sort of tries to go through some various possibilities of what's going on. I think he's trying to do like a tactical analysis, tactical analysis situation, and the answer to that is we're screwed.
Anyone else?
I'm literally almost done with what I'm sending to Nord, and then he'll have something if nobody else has something. All right, Nord, it's all coming your way.
You can edit this out.
Yes, we can. I mean, I was really hoping you guys would have things to say, knowing that you're about to go into like a deadly fight.
I mean,
but hey,
we've got. What's science doing? What's medical doing?
I mean, what exactly are you looking for? Are you looking for a confession of love? I've looked over my attack patterns. I got nothing else.
Well, in fact, then looking over your attack patterns, find a combination of what is it? Stat and skill that may that might help. Looking over attack patterns might give you like a free success later on or something if you roll really. And because you have piloting as a specialization, crit on a higher number than if you didn't have piloting as a specialist.
How about control security?
Control security, totally.
Boom, 3 successes.
I will give you 1 momentum for that. I'm gonna let you guys also carry over. I kept the from a month ago. It's sitting in its place of honor. You had 2 momentum banked at the end of last game. I'm letting you keep them. So your group now has 3 momentum with the 1 that you just earned, and you get 1 free success later with 1 battle when you need to make such a roll. You'll have 1 free success because you're spending time going over that now. I'm okay with that. That seems like a reasonable benefit. And here it comes, Nord. Awesome.
I'm gonna go.
Turbo shots in. All right, Nord, you have now received information on all 4 of the red. It is something that you had never done before, and you did it almost unconscious. You're so used to knowing the waves of your crew's mind that Captain Graves, you kind of pick up on his emotional state and whatnot while he's in there, and if you wanted to you could probe, but the people on the other end, they are light years away. You gained a familiarity with them from your inability to turn off your connection universe when Graves met them on that call. So the information I sent you, does the group get any momentum from that? If not, is it good that I gave you good info there, I hope.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, there were 2 rolls that had 3 successes. I believe that's 2.
No, what I did, you notice, those, I gave you the bonus. I made one of those Commander Futagami. You learned 1, 2, 3 things about Commander Futagami. The 2 that you learned 1 thing about, you had 1 success. And then, Casey, you learned 3 things. And that will help inform, role play with all of them going anyway. So yeah, the group gets no momentum from that, but you guys are sitting at, and Captain, your call ends and you are able to you are able to leave your ready room, and everybody on the bridge. Moon sits up for like the first time in 15 minutes. He relaxed back in his seat and didn't want to admit that this looked like it was going to be a fight. And then that captain's call took a longer time than he liked it to take. Leans forward and looks over, waiting to talk when you walk out of your.
So Graves walks out of the ready room somewhat pissed, and he kind of just takes a moment, does the Picard maneuver, and says, "So what have we got?"
Coordinates for a rendezvous received from USS Galileo, sir.
Yep, so we got that. What else?
Can we set course? That's Larissa.
Yeah. Set a course. Let's meet with the fleet. We're certainly going to be taking the flagship's orders on this one, so I want us to have a few options in case we need to think a little bit more with some latitude. Command's pretty adamant that we need to get some people down on the planet, try to figure out what's going on down there, and, if possible, rally the planet to resist a Klingon invasion. As if that wasn't a violation of the Prime Directive, but we're looked at for the time being, because, of course, we need to maintain a street position. And he just kind of goes on that ramble, just like, I'm going to let just the dirty laundry air a little bit, because I kind of want to get my crew in headspace.
Hey.
So he says, one of the things we've got is that we've got Whately. And pretty amazing things, but we're having to work within pretty narrow confines here. So I need everyone to think of something that we can do, something that we can use to turn the tables, either on the ground away mission, which I'm hoping that we get a chance for, or something that we can do to neutralize 3 Orion battlecruisers, or slow a Klingon invasion fleet down, or get to the bottom of why the hell the Orions are helping the Klingons in this situation.
More specifically, to add, why the sending?
Yeah, because this is a valuable tactical location. They can make use of it just as well as the Klingons. The Klingons are coming in, and I think probably a smiles and handshake. Everyone's friendly, everyone's on the same side. The Orions weren't trying to get a leg up on the Klingons, and the Klingons are doing their dutiful part as the Empire in fighting for the greater good of their alliance. Klingons going out here. It's a tactically advantaged location, but they are technically stabbing us in the back if they go this route versus direct assault through the neutral zone. So are the Klingons happy about this? I don't know. That's why we need to get more out of this, because I think we're just running into a situation where we're going to shooting at each other without thinking that, well...
Larissa is just now listening and watching the rest of stats that someone rolled for.
So Graves just kind of gives an eye towards Kara, because of course she's got a comment here.
I don't know, warp in with 3-4 ships against an armada? She slaps the console. I love this plan. I'm excited to be part of it. Let's do it!
Yeah, nice try there.
Hey, I'm trying to watch out for morale, sir.
Hey, Baz.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Baz to make a roll here. Baz may roll in insight engineering, 7 and 5, which brings you 12. But you have a focus in transporter, 12 and 5 or less crits. As something I've been going over people's characters to see what they might be able to look in. I hope Quentin paid attention to the fact that the commander at the starbase was like, command wants a ecological officer, and that's like, basically we want Quentin on the planet. And Larissa says, once the ship is underway and you're going to meet up with the other ships in 5 minutes. You were closer than some of the others. Remember, the Galileo and the Athens were watching. So now you're all converging to space outside of, what's the name of the planet? I'll get it.
Lapadas,
yes. You're converging, and in about 5 minutes, the Reliant comes out of warp, and I'd love to do the funny thing of having you all like hanging at different angles in space and stuff, like what would really happen. But no, this is like perfect, like, Star Trek TV show kind of nonsense. And the USS Galileo, a beautiful, majestic-looking, restored Galaxy-class starship is hanging in space, and the smaller USS Athens, much smaller, really, a Nebula class, so it's even, I believe, a little smaller than the Reliant, and then than the larger Lido, which is an Aventine class. If people want to look up pictures of those and share them with each other in game time chat, I have a few that I can go grab. But yeah, those are the
Can
those
Rick
are the
use
ships that are warping in at about the same time.
Can Rick use a
Make
momentum?
that roll, Rick.
Use a momentum.
You
For a
got
third
3 of
dice?
them, so
All right, third dice it is.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oof.
I'm
Why?
gonna use my determination.
Why?
I'm gonna use my determination to re-roll.
okay.
Yes,
I love it.
thank-
Which are you using?
And I
Let's
just
have a
need to
look.
load my sheet up.
I gotta pull it up here. You're determined
What are my values?
how value. Your duty to others is yourself. Knowledge and its careful application can solve and you may re-roll. Knowledge and its
12.
careful
Yeah.
application.
Okay, well, no.
You don't have an itch of realizing how you might be able to transport people on.
Wait,
That's all.
he re-rolled the 20 and the 19. He got the 2.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, so you still have 2 successes. That's great. You have an inspirational moment. The issue is that you're of course going to have to drop your to send people to planet. If there was a way to get all of your ships close enough to each other, or using the same transporter coordinate to beam in less than basically, rather than beaming in a 6-person away team from your ship, beam in 2 people from your ship, and like 2 people from the other, and converge as one team on those that you believe could be pulled off with the flicker of the shields going. Yes, Reliant does have not like an Arrow shuttle, but Reliant does have how many shuttles did we figure out when we looked at the
So we've got 8 normal shuttles plus 2 Danube.
Okay, that's your complement of small vessels. As you all can receive a signal from the Galileo, which is a mechanical voice, behind which you can hear original chirps that made up the sounds, like almost like the ghost sound of the original speech of the dolphin that exists behind this very pleasantly. It's just a pleasant mechanized male-ish voice that is the person who hails your ship from the Galileo, and Marissa says they were ready to start exchanging ideas, Captain. Commodore is what she calls herself in the message. The command staff is invited. We're invited to a planning and strategy session with the Galileo. More than invited, there's a planning and strategy session aboard the Galileo for all command staff. They've got a powerful holodeck that means the ability to explore ideas, more powerful than ours.
All right, so the meeting itself, is that for Graves alone or Graves plus the
Graves plus, he says that
Okay.
our entire command, that
right,
means department heads, anybody you deem to bring as part of the tactical planning. This message does see tactical planning more than anything.
All right, so Graves is going to bring everyone along, unless anyone wants to stay behind to work on something. But this is where Graves needs those ideas from everyone. So he's going to.
It's dumb.
Waitley
gather
transfers
everyone
his
up.
research to a pad and follows suit.
He also, Graves makes a note too, for if we can only bring down 3 people, and we need an anthropological team down there, Graves is going to send Eli, Quentin, and he's thinking Waitley, but he's only sent notifications to Quentin and Eli so far, because it's going to be a question of Waitley or Larissa.
That's
So
interesting.
that's just an opening there.
So the quick commercial break ends with the Reliance command crew beaming aboard. This is that cool moment where you just step aboard like the Enterprise. This is a refit Galaxy class ship that looks it could be a museum if everything used to make it wasn't so beautifully new and perfect. The hallway that you step out in is beautiful, and there are two ops officers there that say, okay, what craft does the Galileo have? That's what you guys are about to talk about. There's an ops officer waiting for you outside of the transporter room who looks at you and says, USS Reliant, please follow me to the holodeck right down this way. And
Aye, aye.
she walks you down a hallway, makes a left, walks you down another hallway, and in the middle of that second hallway she walks you down, there is a holodeck arch and an opening with another hallway that leads down to like a 10 forward area or something. It looks like a recreational deck for the most part. And the holodeck doors open, and there are a couple of dozen officers there as as relevant command staff and we'll be creating these folks together as the game goes on and you decide who to talk. Because some of them are as first you will notice that the room has a holographic projection of a dolphin that is swimming throughout the room holographically and talking to people with that same voice that you heard Larissa listen. You could hear it, but you weren't, she basically didn't play it like super loud for the whole bridge. That's obviously first dolphin command level, or rather command staff. That is Commander, what was his name again, Jarlin?
Lewis.
Commander Lewis. And Commander Lewis is a dolphin who lives in Cetacean Ops and serves his duty holographically at other places throughout the show.
So one thing I want to throw in there is that
Mhm.
Graves sees the dolphin and just has sort of an instinctual reaction of, "Oh, that is so freaking neat." Of just
Right?
like, that is his mental reaction. It's just sort of this weird, like, he's actually exhibiting a emotional response to that, just of like, "Oh, cool," and then he's just like, he just sort of like keeps it down of like less excited, less kind of buoyant.
You've all seen the pit yet dolphin sounds, so like that's what you hear behind the voice that his translator makes. And the other captains are who you've seen, and Waitley. Oh, I got a private message from Waitley. Oh, nice. That's a cool thing to research, and we can make a roll for that, Nord. The room has a couple of dozen people in there because the command staff of the Galileo is, and the command staff of Athens is in there. The Tellarites people haven't arrived yet; they're right behind. They're basically beaming aboard like moments after you. They were arriving moments after you, and therefore coming aboard moments after you. And so you have this room that is expansive, and the two science officers and Captain Gates. You can see Captain Gates wears captain's like captain's regulars and like definitely captain's pips on his uniform, but as I said earlier, it's the blue. Looks like Rick Moranis as Rick Moranis. And the image of Melinda Clark that I put up earlier is just it looks like she's a serious career professional, and the way that she's got her hands held together makes Waitley, without even reading the room in any special way, you can tell that she is worried about what's about to she's not only worried about what's about to go down, she's worried, and worry is something she doesn't feel off. And you have a couple of dozen people in there, in various departments in different on different ships. Quentin, you see, as I said, when you walk in, you can see the Nebula captain along with along with along with another science officer and another science officer that we will make up on the spot if you want to go talk to them. You have no idea exactly what they're talking about just yet. It's up to you guys who you want to share your time with while you are here. What you think would be most important going into this. I will say that Commodore Casey comes walking over and she extends her hand directly toward you, Marcus, and she says, Captain Graves, Reliant, welcome aboard. I wish. She says, I wish we're better. The holodeck can make us anything we test ideas and run scenario before we pop in there. Right now, Gates is working on an idea as he and our esteemed colleague mentioned earlier. Wrap our transwarp tunnels together with something to navigate how many jumps will.
All right. As a quick note, I've been asking my officers to come up with some ideas. My science officer would like to speak with any science and flight deck officers that we have on hand. I think he's got an idea. Our chief engineer is also working up something to allow us to beam down a team to the planet. I've already got some people in mind for who I'd like to send down to fulfill the anthropological.
That sounds really good, and she says that sounds really good, really prepared. I don't have an actual anthropologist on board except ensign young, fresh out of the. If your officer, she looks over at where Quentin and gives you a nod, Quentin. She says, if your officers are more skilled in anthropology than my ensign, please let me send a security officer or two along. At least.
Aye, one of my officers can make people pee on command, but we'll see if we need that. And he gives the officer a wink just to sort of bring up the morale of the situation. So with that, Waitley can probably pick up that Graves toying with the idea of sending him down, but he does want to check with Lee first about where he's either in battle in the ships or on the surface. So kind of like Waitley might pick up that Graves.
Okay.
Kara, meanwhile, is headed directly for wherever the engineers are gathering because she has some important.
And Rick is going to be following soon after.
Okay, and just for Hippie's note, Quint doesn't look like he can hop on mic right now, but he is typing ideas out.
I'm looking and seeing. I'm trying to keep up with him. You need science and flight deck officer. As you start talking to the, you start as Kara walks over toward the engineers, Quentin, you start talking to you start talking to the con officer and the flight of the Galileo, the Galaxy class, and the Galileo can drop one squadron of assistant. They can drop fighters, suggest it. They can drop shuttles again. Not again. The flight commander. Let's make this flight commander up right now. Everybody together. Is it a male or a female flight commander? Coin.
Let's go with female.
Female. It is a flight commander from the Galileo Galilei. Is she human? Doris Meeg desires haggis. Oh, come on now.
Hey, don't come to me for serious ideas. Come to me when you outrun everything else.
I skim the board for occasion.
Occasion. I love it. Occasion. Nope, I got you. I just heard you. Asian female flight. So flight commander. Is she an engineering specialist or is she a tactical specialist? I'm gonna make her one or the other.
On an exploration crew, I would say engineering.
Engineering. There we go. That is our completed flight deck specialist that you get to talk to, Quentin. And she says, I basically wouldn't suggest shuttles, fighters, if we can help it. They'll just get overwhelmed. We drop hull repair drones, shield repair to hang tight around all of our ships. And also the bays to drop torpedoes. Apparently, your captain had an idea that my captain liked.
Is there any way that we could position the ships to kind of shield population centers on the planet?
Only one who's big enough to do that. That's Galileo and the Tellarite. Which I have this because John Cleese is a pretty tall fellow, and imagined him in like this big padded out Tellarite, seemed like the size of one of these Tellarites just comes like walking into the room with like the ops officer just like is bringing him. And he's got like 3 or 4 other officers that are with him. All I know is that one of them is also a Tellarite, and instead of having a beard, has this gigantic mustache, whereas the John Cleese Tellarite has kind of like mutton chops. They come walking in, members of your staff, and he goes, the only ship that'd be big enough to block population centers from fallout up above, that'd be Galileo. It's also, and the Commodore said, it's also the only ship with enough weapon to give my officers free fire. It's true. But yes, we could. We certainly could. Can we go in? And that's like Rick Moranis' character yells from the science station that only that. Can we go in with our shields down? And Rick realized that you could, your idea that you had earlier, if you go in with your shields down, you could also go in active in the transport each ship as you the transwarp to appear together, transport people to the planet, and then activate your shields, and hopefully you could do that in basically a split second before the Orions would have time to react.
Yeah,
He says, can we, he's like, can we go in with our shields down? Because we're going to have to, essentially. And when he says that, Quentin, he wants to grab like warp tunnels and warp tunnels and like wrap them together so that all 4 of your ships can be like sucked along through a transwarp tunnel. It lands you in the same place right in the middle of all of the Orion ships, or right close to all of the Orion ships, so that you can launch and just drop your people onto the planet and go. There we go. I hear you.
Okay, if we're only dropping
yes, maximum. 2 or 3. 3 people is a maximum any one ship could drop, and Rick thinking the shields down for the minimum amount of time that he can.
Nebula or
an Aventine.
We don't need all the ship. That
well, we do
extend shield around the ship if necessary.
Not all the team put a team together on one. He says, "I like that. I like the way your officers think." He looks at you, Graves.
The outer ship, the ships.
The electronic countermeasures may also help us deploy that gravity wave to clean up the fighter squadrons. They won't know what they're running into if they can't detect the surge in our deflector array.
They're possibly on top of the.
AC nods. This is Security Officer Drell, and there is an alien standing next to her now. Graves. He is about 4'11". He comes in at like 5. He's like that size of humanoid, and muscular, thick of appearance, although his muscles and skin don't look, they look almost plastic or waxy. He's an alien of a type we have not seen before. He's got kind of those solid colored eyes that almost mirror like a silver ring back out. And he's wearing a standard Starfleet uniform, standard Starfleet. She says, "This is Security Officer Drell and Security Officer. Someone name another one and make up another security officer that she is offering for the
Rintaka.
Rintaka. I love it. What is Rintaka? Ninja? I don't know. Or occasion?
Didn't we already do it? Yeah, it was the
commander.
No, yeah. So Rintaka. Let's go Rigelian.
Okay.
I saw that before Quentin posted.
Nice. I love it. That's awesome. So she says these are a couple of my best officers, and she says these are a couple of my best officers. And Rintaka has his hands together. Almost, he looks a little bit meditative. He has a very basic setup on. He's got one of those belts that go completely around the back, but like stop short of buckling in the front and is more like a harness, and it's got a very basic phaser and photon grenade setup. He doesn't look like he's anything necessarily special, but he has kind of this focus about him, and he says, "I will keep."
All right. On that point, let's go ahead and introduce said people. So I definitely know two people that I'm going to be setting down there: Dr. Eli O'Connor and Lieutenant Quentin Reynolds. So he kind of gestures over to the two officers.
Okay, Eli, as he gestures over to you, before you forget your idea, shoot it at us right now. He's like, Dr. Eli O'Connor and Quentin Reynolds. And the focus shifts from what Quentin is talking about with how you can get everybody down off of one ship. And it's a good plan. What is Eli doing? I might forget my idea.
My mic working now?
There it is.
Yep, there you go.
There we go. Eli raises his hands like, we might need not go to fighting just yet. Sun Tzu said the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Now, I have an idea. It might be a very dumb idea, but hear me out. They're a carrier. We're us. There's not a lot of us, but we can make it seem like there are more of us. We can reconfigure some probes to give off IFF beacons, or to display IFF beacons, something like that. Maybe have them come in from a different direction nearing a starbase to throw them off. Well, the panic of that's going on. They might not know what's hitting them. They don't know what's real, what's fake. I am bad at explaining this. I am not a tactical officer, but I have ideas.
So we could do that as a diversion. Although we do want to concentrate their fighters, but it could help to send in probes with IFF beats. It's a pretty simple trick, but at the same time, it might catch them off guard. We send that in at a conventional angle, and then we do our transwarp trick and just be somewhere completely different.
Hippie, if you're talking, you muted.
Waiting to see if Eli's done.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting.
Well, if we get these probes in a warp bubble coming from a direction where a starbase is, they all drop out of warp at the same time. That's going to shoot off major panic alarms. We might rout at least a couple.
Hopefully, and the Tellarite says hopefully that would get Syndic twitchy enough to hopefully get them twitchy enough to send at least a good portion of their fighter squadron out there, making our drop in all that much.
Our drop in too could also prevent them from detecting that it is a at least for a little longer. So they might, who knows, surrender at that point, but we'll see. I mean, once they discover it, they'll probably rescind that. But at the very least, it gives it, both of these work in tandem to get like that. Jamming their sensors and just doing as much as we can on the scientific front to leverage what we have in the fleet. Like, we don't have conventional firepower, but we can do a lot with the equipment that we have to interfere with their systems. Maybe even download some viruses onto their hardware and see if we can basically return the favor.
I'll have to see if we can do that on the fly. But this Casey, we'll have to see if we do that on the fly. This is the Syndicate. There's no way we're gonna get in unless we're talking about sending another team of ships. Same time we send a team down.
Sending a team on their ships is going to be a little risky, simply because we're going to have the least ability to pull them back. Although, there's one person who might be able to do it.
She says, this is my way of writing in an tardigrade. Because she says, rumor has it that you have a friend that would not have a problem getting people out of there when the time, no matter where.
True, but I lent him to the Klingons, but if you think he can pull him here, he would definitely be someone that I definitely want to have in this situation. He kind of has that realization, like, why didn't I call for Tardy to begin with? Like, kind of like an holy crap, I'm kind of an idiot for this. So he's like nodding, yeah, if we can get him here, let's definitely get him here. So he can definitely pull off some clutch moves, up into including drop a grenade in their antimatter supplies if we really want to go that route.
If we have the ability to send a team aboard whichever one of their ships. Question is, do we want to do that? And you call your friend and have him be here in an instant to get our people off of ships.
Let's see.
Their shields aren't up. They're probably hanging. We're gonna have the same amount of time to get somebody on board one of their ships. We have to get a team on the planet.
True. And Lieutenant Tardigrade can pull people off. It's going to be a little bit more difficult with him trying to coordinate between multiple ships, so maybe we just go for the big one.
The engineers are looking at are looking at this pilot in science. I'm walking over, and they're like, "Hey, what kind of ideas are we looking at? Coming off of the Reliant,
Kara drops all preamble. How big is the shield bubble around these ships?
can make them bigger.
No, their ships.
Their ships. Don't know. I don't have a good scan on them. I'm assuming probably about this what we run kilometer between a kilometer and 3.
All right, that's big enough. I can get inside the bubble. How does that fit you? We can fire phasers or torpedoes at close range if we can stand the blowback. We could even beam people on board if we're risky enough to drop our shields for the moment it would take. We'd be inside their shield, so it would no longer matter.
We'd be in firing position of 3 different vessels.
No, we wouldn't, because they'd have to fire through their own shields to get to us. We'd be inside their shields.
They could also just drop shields and allow the other 2 vessels to take us out, being their fighters.
Yeah, and then we have 3 ships that can target the one they've dropped the shields on.
Graves is not happy about putting the Reliant in what he thinks is an instant kill position.
8 says,
Graves
I wanted to point out that I am able to make a gravimetric anomaly happen one time. But I'm going to... are any of your ships carrying worker bees, exocomps, anything like that? I'm going to need a localized delivery device, and we'll be able to do... and he kind of stumbling over his words a little bit. He's like, he's the captain of a ship, and he's like, and we'll be able to maybe twice pop a gravimetric anomaly, draw at the very least smaller ships from within, say, 5 kilometers around it, directly right down.
Can we team this with a torpedo?
Could, yeah.
Yeah, because we're bringing them all in one small grouping. The detonator, at the same time, that poses a risk to whatever is at the center of that anomaly. So let's just go ahead and fire into it. And he sort of raises his hand at that point. It's like, yeah, we got a damn good exocomp who could definitely pull that off.
I'm not thinking about like destroying the exocomp or the probe that we send out. I can certainly rig it to be a device. A fireable device. You get my point.
Yeah.
We're going to be in a battle.
Yeah,
We're going to be in a battle. They can, yeah. And basically, he wants to equip one of your exocomps, or a probe off of any ship. Reliant exocomps, and you have the 3 that we know of that we've named.
3?
I think there's 1 in engineering.
There's Oakley, 1 in engineering, and 1 in security.
Okie dokie. I forgot we had the other ones.
The others don't have names.
Okay, so we have the 3 exocomps.
The engineering one does. Kara wrote Connor on the side.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about writing Connor on the side. My sincere apology.
It's not like anybody cares but Kara, but
essentially the meeting that you all are having continues to go on long hours, and
can I quickly
yes.
interject before we?
Absolutely.
So, Captain, I know this isn't quite what we're talking about right now, but I'm still quite concerned about the population, any casualties that might happen with our, and also any contamination. I have a thought.
What do you got?
Captain Casey says, he says, "What do you got?" And she says, "What are you thinking?" At the same time as he says, "What do you got?" Because you're the XO, and the dolphin comes swimming over too, and the XO, who we define later, of one of the other ships. So you have a bunch of commanders and XOs. Yep.
Yeah.
I know in past situations that methods have to make seeming natural events happen that could cause a certain reaction from. I'm thinking create some natural disaster that population would seek shelter underground, in shelters, in caves, wherever, and be less likely. That would also make less likely to see us or what's happening.
True. It's a question of how to do that. If we, say, create a seismic anomaly, that's going to create problems with local infrastructure, and that may end up causing a lot of damage. So we need something that's simply visual appearance only. We could try something like an asteroid impact.
That's what I'm thinking is like some sort of type event, some sort of extinction level disaster. And maybe I know we picked up before on broadcasts on the planet and for a very broadcast centered culture. Maybe you can actually create some artificial broadcasts and basically plant them in the airwaves so people will start hearing broadcasts they think are coming from their planet about the
Good idea. Also, one thing that might lend a credence, because they know about the Orions, and
Let me look
Zon-
at his name again. Kafak. Captain Kafak says, to an extent,
they're
he's like, forgive me for talking this way to a pregnant lady, but your report is pretty damn plain. These people know about the Orion. And
so what if we have the broadcast say the Orions, to subdue the population for Klingon invasion, are dropping an asteroid? Because if they know about the Orions and we just say an asteroid coming, it's like, okay, the Orions are going to say. But if we have a broadcasting that the Orions are, that might play to our advantage.
have time. If we have time to set it up, sure. I could certainly set up a communications relay once we get into system, but that involves pulling one of our 4 ships out of the fight to the edge of.
Could we do it through an automated probe?
Not if we want somebody cracking the algorithm, unless we can make the broadcast happen aboard one of. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
I'm loving this.
What
So,
about from
yeah,
a
so
shuttle?
we'll-
From a
Well,
shuttle?
hold on. Well, Graves has a finger of like, hold on, we could actually do that. Broadcast from one of the Orion ships, because we're going to be inserting Lieutenant Tardigrade into that situation, plus someone with a good deal of experience. So
Tardigrade showing up to get them out when it's time to get them out.
yeah. So at the same, we'll have people on board. So here's a kind of a question of like, okay, who do I want on there? It's like, and
You guys, like, you're
there's
like,
Graves gets a shit-eating grin, and Waitley, from wherever he is, starts to feel worried. about
Graves.
what the
Graves, you realize that I mean, it's probably up to Kendra, but Kendra, you know that you could give birth at any moment. Like you're at that point where your due date has more or less arrived, and like you're in that like 4 to 5 day period where you might not want to lead the away team unless you want to, what's the name of the planet again? Lapont or something? Lapada.
Lapada.
Lapada. Unless your child is born on Lapada. So
I do have a tag on to my
okay.
Commander Waitley.
By the way, Casey seems impressed with all of.
Counselor.
Yes. He is sitting right there in the thick of things. He just hasn't. He
Do
does
you
what
think-
all good counselors do and listen.
How many people do you think you projected?
A very good question. Endeavored something to that degree, but I'm fairly confident that I could at least affect the Orion commander.
How about the population
He blinks and doesn't say anything.
for anything more powerful? Just a vague feeling to as many can get it to as possible.
He sets down the pad he's been reading from this entire time, and he kind of does the whole, stroking the beard chin thing. I suppose it could be possible, what you're saying, though I would want to practice first.
Okay, well, could practice on the ship, I suppose. I would prefer a positive feeling, though.
I recall reading about an incident. Let me try some.
Captain Gates steps forward and goes, I've got to get all of our transporter rooms operating close to 100%. Who's your chief engineer? Does he have any real specialization in transporter technology? And Captain Gates is Rick Moranis, and he's looking at you. Does your chief engineer have any specialization? I need to get more out of him. I need to get more out of my. Basically,
Graves is just sort of nodding. Graves is nodding at this point, just yeah, and he just points to Rick Tier across the room. He's definitely got transporter experience. Just go talk to him. He'll get it done.
Okay. Baz, you see Captain Gates walking across the room. Notice that I let you guys meet a bunch of that they aren't just because here we are as like the last moment of this happening. Our Rick Moranis walking over to like the guy who looked Captain Rick Moranis of Starfleet walks over and says, "My, you're the sorry." Wait, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. You're not sorry.
So,
You're
Rick
you're
adds.
sore. You're sore. Need a doctor.
Sorry, I didn't quite
And
hear you.
he's got this whole like he's got this like nervous, his like hands are like pressed together, and he's kind of like got a little bit of a you're bigger than you're taller, and he responds to you saying you're sore by saying, do you need a doctor?
No, sir, that is my species name. SUR
Oh,
general language.
I knew you're the first graduating from the academy this year. Your entire crew. What an amazing. I need help. My ship, the Athens. I can get one of my going at near 100. I can probably get one transporter room in a safety margin above 98. But my Kara making me laugh. A low little cat that sorry, my cat. He says, I basically need to find someone with enough experience, border technology, with the amount of people that we want to beam down and across to another at once. I'd like to have at least two of my trans. Well, I have two transporter rooms and one industrial transporter. If we it, do you get my point?
Yes, I understand. Just give me directions, and I will see what I can do to work along.
So, Rick Tier and engineers from the Athens, you meet up and are able to use Galileo's advanced holodecks. I love that we can just kind of make this up, because we don't ever get to really use a holodeck. The advanced holodeck facilities here, allow you to recreate their engine dynamics like to exacting detail by real-time scans of what's going on board their ship, and you're able to guide their engineer via them being able you're able to transfer what you're able to, if you're able to make the roll, to see how good of an Rick is. The first the role of the game now, it's engineering is a 5, and your what is it to like get more out of this?
Well, it depends. If it's control would be fine tuning details.
That's control. It would be control engineering then.
Yeah.
So you have a 16 and you crit on a 5 or less.
I'm just gonna not roll. I'm just gonna straight to.
Oh wow!
4 successes, 2 crits.
Okay. Yeah.
Momentum.
So you get to work on their ships, and you manage to create a lot of momentum. Your group is at 5 momentum at the perfect time, which is going into halftime, as the captains gather up, and Captain Gates thanks. She's like, Captain Graves, thank you for letting your engineer get the transporter at least within safety margins for our. We have basics of ideas for we're sending where, and Captain or Commodore Casey nods and says, "I'll have I have my best people on ready status." So, and when you guys are making up your away teams, you're able to grab the best people off of 3 other starships. So, like, if your normal team would consist of like the people, you can be like, I want to take the engineer from this other ship, and we'll make them up and give them a backstory. And the fact is, if they're on the planet when their ship blows up, they might become part of the Reliance crew. You know what I mean? So,
can we get the dolphin? No, I don't think we can match that one. Unless he's got like a mech.
He doesn't have a way to live outside of everything he does is hologram. The Tellarite. So Gates is Gates thanks all of you help you're giving Nebula class Athens. And essentially the idea, as it sounded to me as everyone discussed it, basically the Athens is going to be sitting in the middle with its down transporters ready to go. As soon as you hop into the system, multiple transports will happen. At least one team heading to the planet, potentially to try to create to create a natural disaster. But this also is, sorry, I skipped a step. At first you're going to go at a long range comm distance and drop comm beacons at what you came up with, Eli, the ability to draw at least a good number of their forces away by having these comm beacons broadcasting Starfleet IFFs. And then you pop into the system using the transwarp and Nebula has the Athens has its shields down. The rest of you have your shields up, and you have the Athens surrounded as the Athens beams people to these locations, and the fight beats. That's that's basically what I heard. We come back from break with that kind of epic like build up. It's not all set and it's not set off yet kind of thing. And the camera comes up on it of Lapadas, and I love that it's like a blue-green planet because that's what I have in mind. And I believe that's what. Sure, I don't remember perfectly, but you know what the people down there look like. Remember them? They are short. They have an orange kind of color to their skin, and their hair is mostly dark in color, dark browns to black most. There is some lighter browns, but that's about as lightly colored as the hair becomes down there. There's no noticeable difference in the height between the male and the females. Lapadans, they are, that's great. The name even works. I like that. There's no real difference in terms of height. They are generally a short, 4 foot and between 4 and 4.5. They tend toward a greedy sort of social alignment, greedy, selfish social alignment, even among the best. And that's what you can remember about the planet. And as your small fleet of ships, the Reliant, the Galileo, and Lido surrounding the Athens as reaching the point that was determined. This is a good spot where they'll be able to pick up the signals of the type of which Dr. O'Connor had thought to throw out there, along with torpedoes and various other explosives that are we can still wait. We can still wait. That's totally fine. I'm just antsy because I'm having so much fun. Oh, hello, kitty. Now my kitty is laying down in front of my keyboard and not letting me touch it.
We didn't get to eat supper because we fell asleep and didn't wake up. We were just very quickly microwaving food. But
Okay,
mine's done, but
okay.
Cass isn't done yet.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Just night
It's all
has
good.
not gone according to plan on our end.
All good. It's about to get real exciting.
I got a character note from Grant. So we're doing that whole prep up, building up to giant minute. So presumably he's got like at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So what he does in that time is write a message to Satsujigoro telling her everything he can send to them.
It doesn't take that long to get down to decade.
Well,
Meanwhile, Kara makes a similar message, but only for Starfleet Command, and it simply says, "Fuck you."
Oh no!
Remember, it'll only be sent if we die.
It's sent if we die.
In the event of
my death, he said. Oh.
And all they get is a very short clip of Kara just screaming, "Fuck you!"
So, the Dolphin cannot lead.
She recorded that from her con station.
Dolphin cannot lead in the way.
Sure, why not?
However, the Tellarite, he is a captain. Don Cleese wants to lead an away team to one of the Orions. He is just like, fuck these guys. Seriously,
Oh,
let's like
God.
go in there. Let's go in there and blow that shit up. I want
Okay,
in.
so
It's like I'm an expert with explosives.
I'm gonna sort of do a little bit of hinting at Hippie, but I was talking with Waitley about who to send over to the from Reliant, who to send over. I kind of wanted to send over Waitley to mess with him a little bit. So I'm just wondering, Waitley plus John Cleese, Waitley plus John Cleese wanting to blow everything up. That is our away our away team there, and then we're gonna send down on the planet Larissa. Eli.
Larissa suggests that you maybe send Bryce if you're sending Rudy.
Okay, because I was thinking about like Larissa or Bryce. So it's going to be Bryce, Quentin, and Eli.
Okay, that totally works. You have we'll all together create a security officer from one of the other ships. The captain, however, of the captain of the Toledo, his executive officer, we don't even know what he or she looks like. The executive officer argues, and the captain is like, "Look, I'm going. We'll see about maybe getting some of their security to go along with." And Larissa looks at you and says, "Maybe reroute Bryce." And
rewrite Bryce too.
Reroute Bryce and send Kara.
So send Kara
or not? I don't know.
Okay. Oh, what about Lieutenant Tardigrade, Oakley, and Waitley, and John Cleese as a Tellarite wanting to blow everything up on one?
Remember, Tardigrade's only going to show up to bring the team home.
We can't send Lieutenant Tardigrade because that's the thing is that if he's on the scene, he can pull him off quickly.
He'll be able to do it quickly anyway. He'll be able to step out of spore space and be like, guys, boom, and then you're all back aboard wherever.
Okay.
Reliant or whatever.
Sounds good there. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Janik is going down.
I like it.
Bryce is going to be the one going with Waitley,
and I like it. There you go.
Because here's the thing too. Because Bryce is also an android. He's not going to be affected by the pheromones, so he's good to put into a situation where the Orions might use chemical warfare.
He's very good to put in. I was wondering if you guys would think about that. And so
open doors with his bare hands. So that's also another good.
It opens doors with his bare hands. And so the four ships, not in warp, but Rick, you're the Reliance warp transwarp engine. The designs are like looking at theoretical physics about imaginary. He's asking impossible and aim transwarp corridor at their transwarp corridor that opens. Kara is going to either have the most fun of her life or the hardest piloting job she's ever had to do.
These are not mutually exclusive.
I like that. And so all of these probes that have been altered to release IFFs and a bunch of those and other explosives are released. And look at the scanners, and it takes a moment, but off of the two slave masks, you see two squadrons, one peel off and start heading in that direction. And as they do, lose their signal and then Captain Gates on board the Athens. Now, gentlemen, now activate your transwarp corridors. In some, or he's like, now, captains, now activate your transwarp corridors, and like I'm kind of like Rick Moranis realizing, I was supposed to tell everyone it's a half a second to go. And all of the transwarp doors are opened at the same time. And the crazy thing that he asked you to do, someone make a 3 dice roll for Captain Eats. He has a 16 and crits on a 5 or less. How good this part of this pulled off. I don't care who rolls it.
I did already. It's there.
Where did? Oh, sorry, my chat wasn't updating. 3 successes. He earns the overall team. You guys can choose to use. You guys can choose to, if you want to, at some point. You are at your maximum momentum, which is 6. You can choose at any point to spend that for your allies as well. That gives 2 successes, and the plan works as he envisioned it. Kara, you see the transwarp tunnel open in front of you, but it does at Rosenberg Bridge. Where distance stretches out infinitely and curls around itself sometime. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the edges of the warp tunnel seem to stretch in a way that they shouldn't, and you realize it's because you're looking at 4 warp tunnels or 4 transwarp tunnels at the same time, and you need to make a piloting check to land in position around the Athens. A good piloting check for Kara. It's not a difficult one either. You only need 1 success.
3 successes.
3 successes.
Because I have the
the
augmented
extra
control,
2,
so...
the 2, how do you want to use them? Do you want to position you want to position better for Larissa at the tactical station? As you appear, do you want to position better or some other thing the Reliant and the others are about to protecting the Athens during transport or what have you?
She goes for protecting the Athens. She sticks to the plan for now.
Right on. So the here the name of it again, the Lapadas system with the Lapadans. Appear in the Lapadan system, right in position off of the aft, protecting the back end of the Athens, and you're up above that ship a little bit, and the larger Toledo and closer planet, and turning itself to affect some of what Endra had talked about by turning its gigantic saucer, protect and moving to position above settlement exists below on. And so, what people support?
So, as we discussed, down on the planet, we're sending Janik, Eli, and Quentin. Ship? Oakley isn't... okay, so we're sending Bryce and Waitley.
Are you sending anyone else anywhere else?
Let's see. I'm tempted to also send Oakley, but he might be useful to have on the ship, because we've only got the 3 exosomes. And Oakley is special.
Oakley, keep boop in chat if you hear me saying Oakley, because Oakley, you have a strange sensation as they're talking about whether you should go to the war barge. Or you have a strange sensation. You actually have an opinion about it, and you may display that on your facial monitor, like I'm not saying what the is, only that the strangest sensation befalls you as they're talking about should Oakley be on the ship or send him to the barge, or have an opinion about that. But regardless, when you figure out what you would like to add onto that, so far Oakley appears to be considering what you guys are saying on the basically like the emoji on the electronic display on the front of Oakley seems to be like rubbing its chin in consideration. So from other ships, the Tellarite with his the Tellarite captain.
Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Graves is... I think we're missing something. We sent someone to meet with Dara.
Ooh. Oh, that's crazy. Do you simultaneously beam someone aboard her sister's war barge to sabotage it, and beam aboard her and also beam aboard her slave master battleship? Do you do that?
We can get her off there, can we?
Yeah. Well, no, we can't. We probably can't, like, in that short of time, locate where she is, get the transporter to beam her off. I'm thinking...
Their shields are going to go up fast.
Yeah, so...
Artie?
Oh, we've already shot down the idea of sending Tardy over, because I would have sent Tardy an O2 man away team, but Tardy can't do the mission. He's going to be there for plot device to get people off.
It allows us to bring back like a lot of aspects of things that have happened, characters that have appeared in the first season, and it's good to bring Tardy back in that way, because he can do that. He really can do what all you have to do is call him and he'll be like, oh yeah, I could do that, and like bam, he's there. Bam, your away team is off of the Orion ship.
So here's kind of the thing. So it's a question of who we send over. I would like to have Whately and Bryce with Dara to have that conversation. Those two might be able to reach her. So Tardy, that's the thing, is who do we send over to help out John Cleese perform his mission would be more of an engineering focus. So let's say have Oakley do a John Cleese style buddy adventure.
That's great. We'll just do a little up.
For what they're doing. Well, Whately and Bryce are given an orders from Graves. Find a way to negotiate with her. Find out give her something to end, or find out how we can end it without people dying. And that's his orders to the two people. Well, one of which he probably shouldn't trust. Two people he kind of trusts most, but for Whately it's for odd reasons he can't quite explain. So he's giving them that. They've got that order, so they've got to go find Dara and try to negotiate. He's feeling like that's the thing that's missing from this, because if she's just off and separate and reacting, that's going to be, we're losing something there. So let's go that way.
Oakley and Captain. See these names? They're new to me. Kofak and Kofak will be the team that go along with an engineering officer from Gates that can be sent, that has specialty working. If that becomes very well might. And then it's Bryce.
Especially with little Oakley there.
And then is it just Bryce? So the other captains want to know if you think that just Bryce and Whately can handle themselves, can handle dealing with Dara. Can two of them do it? Is that a yes? All right. So your ships drift out, not drift, but your ships head out and give off the IFFs of a Starfleet squadron coming system. And it takes a minute. Your ships hold position for a moment, and finally you see a squadron peel away from both Slave Master battleships. They look evenly composed of fighter ships, 3 from each, and at the same time some sort of heavy vessel. Looks less armed but more heavily armored. That would be your guess looking at it. It's kind of like a transport vehicle, maybe, or an adjusted transport vehicle, something along those lines. And as they begin to approach, the Captain Gates says, "Captains, activate transwarp tunnels now," and the tunnels activate. And next moment, Kara, you make you had already made a very nice piloting check, and gotten your momentum refilled, and you're able to provide better cover for the Athens turn as your ships appear in the Lapadas. The Lapadas, right?
Lapada.
Lapada.
In the Lapada system, your ships all appear and the transporter beams activate. The first among you are Quentin and Eli, along with
Janek.
with your half Romulan duty office, Janek. You appear on the planet, and the transporter officers had noted that a majority of the population at this point had this is some months later, had moved on to the northern continent. Large scale migration, not small scale by any means. You're 100% aware that the northern continent is the one that was run by the woman who had an infiltrator. Is a terrible, terrible, inhumane dictator. It's like but most people have moved on to that continent, and so that is where the three of you, as well as you have anthropology, you have science and medical, security, and what would be another officer,
Engineering.
an engineering officer, an engineering officer from the Galileo. There you go. You guys, we'll make up this extra officer as we go. Bryce and Waitley, do you remember Waitley? You remember the mission in game in the Agents of Yesterday, where you get to go aboard the Orion ship and do all of the cool, like, I'm fighting Orions on an Orion ship nonsense. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Right on. So what happens? You and Bryce appear on an Orion ship. Immediately, you immediately feel a whole lot of Orion around you, and are also 100% aware that they know you're.
I detect
here.
any Lethian.
Detect for any Lethians not aboard this ship.
Makes my job slightly.
That makes my job slightly easier then. And you appear in like kind of an alcove, and from the hallway outside, disruptor blast fires down the hallway. Not even any sort of attempt. Just we know you're in that alcove, and this is the only way out. And it's a warning and Bryce says that's a warning. Do they know we're here?
Oh, but that's okay. I have an even better warning, and I am going whoever's out in the hallway and make them fall asleep.
Roll a psychic craziness. Roll a psychic Waitley craziness roll. That is a
Presence command.
Presence command 10-4. So 14 and 14, and you don't have any focus that apply to make you fall asleep. So 14 is your target. Remember, you guys have 6, counting them, 6 bouncy momentum. Because,
Well, I got
one success. Oh, that's you rolled before I could say how much threat I 1, 2, 60. I have Az has to help me spend it. Interesting.
You could spend 4 right now to bring it down to get that 6.
Give him a complication. Could I do that, Baz?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, within the rules. The question is, because he already sort of rolled for it, what do you want to do there?
I'm going to let him keep it because he already rolled. No big deal. You got 1 success, no complications, but 1 success. You reach out to put the guy asleep, and wow, I forgot how to roll in the system. It's 2d20 his target, that, and his critical. 2 successes. You try to put him asleep. He is not aware you tried to put him. Someone else's, and their way of pushing you back makes your mind burn. You lose your determined session.
That's what Waitley whispers to Bryce. He just kind of clutches his forehead and ouch.
And you know that came from one of the other ships. From it came the war barge.
Going to take a wild guess. It was a Lethian.
Oh yeah, you know enough about how they attack, and actually with what just happened, you get a feeling that this one is trained defense of the mind. And Bryce says, talk to her.
How are your
Steps out into the hallway.
Protocols?
Steps out into the hallway and holds up his and Orion stepping close, and he says, "You're not gonna kill us." They grab his hands and like push him forward. It's one of those like kind of burly, like half naked Hulk pants wearing muscular male like Orion male slaves with bolts in their head and bracelets on that have chains on them, and there's 2 of them. One of them like spins Bryce around in front of him, and Bryce just like holds his hands up behind his head, and the other one holds a gun on you, Alco. Mistress will see you now.
Oh, most excellent. fortunate she was willing to keep our appointment. If I can't screw with their heads my normal way, I'll find another way to do it.
Yay!
And the two of you begin to be led off. And on another ship in another place, Oakley, you appear with two Office 4 and 2. One of them is really, seriously, imagine if John Cleese had on a bunch of Tellarite makeup and had a lot of explosives on him, had like a kit of explosives that he was wearing in order to sabotage some stuff. And there's this other engineer who's like, how can I help? And you are aboard maybe one of the largest hallways you've ever seen. And because you're inside a cavernous ship, this is a war barge dreadnought. You can hear the echoes of people working at a distance, echoing throughout the chamber of the ship. And one thing that is interesting and weird, because it doesn't have like an emotional impact on you, but there is, in addition to that, like clank of work, imagine this like sultry music that like echoes throughout the entire ship in kind of a haze of vapors that exist in the hallway down, like just floating. And you begin to scan, I imagine. In fact, John Cleese as a Tellarite knocks on your back. He's like, knock, 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 knock. Hey, Exocomp, scan for structure we can exploit with these explosives. And Oakley begins to scan, and we know what's going to happen on board that ship. And then all of the transporting done. And the shields around the Athens come up, and the shields, the extend from Galileo around the Athens, so that it just provides a momentary extra bit of protection as their shields come online. And all of the Orion ships, like turrets and cannon, they begin to like circle and they're almost like, imagine an orbital cannon that is turning as giant ships train on you as green fireballs of energy sail throughout space, initially bouncing off of your shields with like that cool like green effect as it extends around from outside of your shields, and the Galileo and the Lido and the Athens all begin to fire the weapon they have at hand. And in every place you begin to hear or see the din of that fight, as on the planet Quentin Eli up above, as you it's daylight but it's afternoon daylight, you can see explosions begin happening far up above the planet. And now we can go into wherever people want to go.
So one quick thing is that if they had time to turn their giant ships, we had time to do their sensor scramble.
Yes, I forgot you guys had. What do they do exactly is the idea. I know it would maybe like disable weapon systems or something. I'm not sure what the plan is.
So that's Quentin.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You've got viral matrix shutting down ships and weapons for time.
I like that. Make a sciencing roll, and you may throw one extra die in for the Reliant, and you may also throw one extra die in there for the on-comms assistants of the chief science officers, who are not recurring characters. They're they're on comms right now. Chief science officers of other vessels who are helping make these sensors go off, and we make an I do science. What is the I do science roll, Rick?
And then depends on reason or control.
Reason and science. 15. Roll a 15, and your crit is on a 1.
Okay, the ship, the Reliant, makes say sense science be a 12.
Sweet. Someone roll that.
Just
Awesome.
say, I'm not actually.
He could have set it up. I got the roll.
And the ship got the 12.
I did the ship.
Ship only rolls one die.
Then we just got the 2. And then for Quentin, he's on the away mission, but he set everything up, so I would still say goals for it.
And on ships, by the way, it's all counted as having focus, so you do get 2 successes.
Yay! See Quentin's main role.
Yup. 1, 2, 3.
Well, his target was 50. He's got 2 successes.
Okay. And the other one, 14 for an average. For 2 successes, I gave you.
So
14
we got 6.
average.
We got 6 in total.
You deploy what is it called? A sensor.
Sensor scrambler for
Scrambling
getting them
net.
to retarget themselves, and then viral matrix to get them to
As they launch their remaining squadron, and that's one more squadron each out of the Slave Master battleship. These Orion fighters beginning to fill the sky. They go on, in this case, all fighters, and the war barge just seems to drop more small craft out of potential bays, you see, and just fills as they begin to like drift out the sky. And on the bridge of the Reliant, Moon goes, "Oh damn, Connor, never been a robot before." And if you guys look over, he's got glasses on, and it's all connected to a station, and has a display there. He is now in virtual reality trolling the exocomp Connor, and has just drifted out of a torpedo. And as their ships launch and fill the sky, the sensor scramblers hit, taking the targeting controls from all of the ships that were being to fire cannon turrets and aiming them at their own relaunched squadron. So, Baz, what would be appropriate for the role of an Orion gunner getting a roll against a bunch of ballcrafts that they literally just launched?
I think for shuttlecraft, it's really a max 9 for the current stat. Let's say a +2 security.
Okay, so 11. 20, 11. Success. So that's kind of the situation that you all find yourselves in. Who would like to say, let's make this? Because on board the ship, your enemies fire on themselves. That'll hold for 1 round, and then you know that it might still use them the next round, but they're going to start firing on you.
So on 6 successes, do we just get the sensor scramblers, or do we also get the viral matrix too?
You also get the viral matrix.
Yes.
which is going to shut down one of them.
Yay! So at this point,
before they get a chance to adapt to what your attacks are doing, it'll start to shut down their you see out of the report and on the etc. You see the Galileo, and you know how the Galaxy class does how the phasers do that, like around the inner ring and then fire, and you get all of that. You get to see these ships in all of their glory beginning to battle with 3 Orion Dreadnought class vessels. And what do people want to focus each battle?
Depends on the others. I'm glad to just sit back and let some of the other people.
Well, let's do, since we did a bit with Waitley and that, let's go to the planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eli and Quentin, you have Janik with you, and somebody flip here. I'll roll a die. Odds or evens. I get evens. That means this a female engineer from the Galileo. Specialty is, it's a good specialty for an engineer on the ground.
Shields?
Fabrications or shields. Yeah, I like that. What do you guys like? Fabrications?
I said fortifications.
Fabrications, because that's the making turrets thing, and mortars, and chronoton mines.
So when your mind tells you what race this female engineer from the Galileo is, let us know. And 4 of you arrive at Capital City. That for many of us, we've seen it. For the audience, we saw it previously. This was the city that Waitley came into with, trying to remember, and it's just escaping me, that had that had a large following for this woman. What is name Tamanora? I like that. That works. I don't.
That's for the engineer.
Oh, okay, Tamanora. I like it. If people update that as we go, because I don't have everything open that I should have open.
You're the drive.
The drive.
Okay, got it.
I don't remember the name, and I'm sure we can go look it up for now. For now, we will call her
by title.
a title. And you are in that capital city. When Whately came here last, he was looking for Undine. At this point, you're not looking for Undine. You're trying to figure out what the Orions are hoping to gain by letting the Klingons, or what the Syndicate more specifically is hoping to gain by allowing the Klingons to take over the administration. And what you find is a city much like, I would say, modern day, but how about modern day before the pandemic? Paris. If you've ever seen how busy Paris become in mid-afternoon after work has let out, and people are going back and forth locations of relaxation and home, and the streets are packed full of people. Remember, before you came down, there's been a large scale migration, and it looks to you like the one leader that had been on this planet, Quentin and Eli, the kind of commune sort of living individual, really only wanted control so that his people would be right and everybody else would. He wasn't really. He died the last time you were, and all of his people seem to have migrated. There are slight differences in their in the intensity of the the color upon their skin. It ranges from almost a palish, almost human looking pale skin to it begins to become dark and orange, and then darker orange quickly. But that's what you see all around you. Is a city that has begun to soak in a large-scale migration from one whole empire, and once that began to happen, you see a third. Very distinctly, there are 3 types of Lapadan here. I get it right. You say I got it right. I don't know if I got it right, but I hope. That's what you are facing, and Eli, along with Janik and this other engine. I think our mics are off.
Waiting on people.
I just don't know what to say. Some sort of
imagine if you were in the fascist capital, fascist land, with a bunch of people that are only because they have. There's been a struggle for power among the. One of those leaders died, and all of his followers had nowhere to go but to this woman, the matrix. And no, nobody's in disguise either. That's the best. This woman, this matriarch, and so I mean. You're looking around at essentially refugees and a huge scale, not just migrating of this will Eli or Quentin. Either of you have actually Quentin, I know you have anthropological specialty. And Eli, do you have something?
I have xenoanthropology.
Awesome. So you both have something that crit on better numbers. The best thing ever. You both can make a reason and science check. So Quentin, that is 15, and your crit is on a 4 or less. And for Eli, let me find Eli O'Connor here. Xenoanthropology totally applies. Your reason is 10 and your science is 4, so you're at a 14 with a 4 or less in a crit number. The other 2 members of your team are not anthropology specialists. Oh man! Boo! You got 4, so that means 2 extra. And I will start with one of you two ask me the first 2 questions that come to mind when faced with you're basically in the fascist capital with a whole lot of people that have no other choice but to be the matriarch who rules these lands. She's not kind, but she doesn't starve them. Kind of. So what the first 2 questions would have? How much security does she have? The over the they have a large scale detail, especially around trying hard and overthrow the fascists. I love it. You should. They have a large scale security force around the matriarch. The refugees, some of them have been othered from what you can tell. Some of the ones that have come from the southern parts of the continent have been othered, and they face what is obvious security. Tell that there's more security in parts of town where homes are not made of nice stone as you look from where you appear and you're able to step out onto the. And the other thing notice is that there is you want to call it an obelisk, but it's taller than an obelisk. It's like a much smaller Washington. It's a monument. That's what it is. It sticks up out of the ground. It has a color. It's the end of the day. Remember, the shadows are affecting it, but it's got a color like space. It looks like endless blackness, floating points of light inside, and rising up around that are merchant looking, or they're more structures where it looks like 2 merchants have I say merchants, think merchants of death, 2 very well dressed Orion, and both Quentin and Eli should make a what's the perception as
Let's go insight security.
insight security. Eli, you're on a 10. So 10 is your number. And let me find Quentin. Insight security 11 and 2, 13 is your number. Woot! You guys. Wow. Okay. Wow. One success when when the person's there with you too is just both of you recognize that one of the people standing here is an extremely beautiful. She is wearing that royal Orion metal finery that barely covers parts and has chains that drape and run around it. She has her hair done all beautifully with like that small crown that makes you recognize. And you recognize her. She's there with a male Orion who is obviously dressed to hide how he is, but he's got the bolts in his head, and he's got the wrist shackles underneath the finery that they've got him dressed in. And there are merchants of death is one way to put it. They have a variety of weapons they are demonstrating. The first that you see as you begin to look into that part of the plaza is a disruptor rifle. They're demonstrating disruptor rifle, and then they demonstrate what looks like call it kinetic. It doesn't have ammo per se, but it does have charge and these are the 2 things that they're showing people. And the woman sees the 4 of you. It is Dara. It is the dark-haired sister is the dark-haired sister of 3 Orions. I've given you thanks to Jarlin, we know that since they're triplets, they all look like Claire Danes, except with different colored hair in these pictures. Thanks to that we have of her with skin. Thanks, Kendra. It's her in like all of her Orion finest, and she realize that she is suddenly embarrassed upon seeing all of you, and she goes, oh my goodness, Starfleet, and your sea just give weapons. How are
Wait,
you?
hold on. I do have to question. This is Dara, the person I sent Waitley and Bryce to go try to talk to on the ship.
Yep.
Yay!
She
Sorry,
says, she says, "Oh, Starfleet, it's been so long, and now you've caught me just giving weapons. Whatever will you?" And both Quentin
I'm like,
and Eli and Janik all become overwhelmed with the fact that they're very close to a hyper attractive Orion who's active her pheromones against.
yay! So this is an opposed roll.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't do blockers.
Because you thought the two people going where she were going to be Waitley and Bryce.
Yeah. So wait, hold on.
Instead, it's Quentin and Eli.
Can Eli at this point quickly dose himself at least?
Is that possible? Could he be like, "Oh shit," and dose himself with pheromone blockers?
It's DM's call, but I think with a determination, something like that spin, that would work.
All right. Which determination would help you stab yourself with an ant, Eli? Is it serving in Starfleet as a family tradition, loyal to the ideals of the Federation, never be cruel, never be cowardly, endure hardship so others don't have?
I don't know, man. I wasn't expecting this.
Oh, wait. I got it. It's we endure hardship so others don't have to. He's going to stab himself with a very strong dose of the antidote, which is going to suck, but he's going to take that to be able to resist the Orions.
And that's a stretch.
Or he could try to stab Quentin with...
What do you think, Eli? You weren't expecting. You walk up on that part of the plaza. Nobody's care that you're aliens walking into their plaza. And when you get there, it's Dara, and she's like, "Oh, Starfleet, I love you so much. Come closer." The only one, and Janik is definitely like, "Oh, yeah. Let's go closer." Janik is like, "Come on, guys, let's go closer."
Just like the Spanish Inquisition, I never expected this.
You didn't expect. I think that's the key, is that Eli didn't expect it, and so all three of them, the engineer from the Galileo, one of the last things here is we got to think of a good name for her. It can be.
I already put one in there.
Oh,
Tamanora.
Tamanora. Tamanora to Galileo. We are compromised. Bad. And that comes across.
Hold on.
All right.
Eli was saying something and Quentin's typing something in chat. Just making sure we stop.
That I previously had said that there was a standing order in place. Anytime we were with the system, we were gonna do blockers before we left the ship.
And I did go to medbay to prepare before I left, so that's a standing order.
I think Quentin at least would have gotten stabbed because I've made a point of it in this episode.
You're not allowed to go around the Orions without this here.
I think the key fact is no one expected any Orions down there.
We kind of did, because we expected there to be Orion interference down there. They're on the planet, so I think we're expecting Orions. We didn't expect the person specific, but we, any other, it's not just the leadership that has this ability. Any Orion could. So it's not we would have this standing order in place. Think about what if it's the sisters? It's any Orion. So I think it would have been standard to load up on blockers beforehand. That's just kind of my take. We didn't remember this, but
you know what? I'm good with that. All of you to make a reaction check to stab yourself with blockers once you realize it's a problem. What would you call that, Baz? Daring or something?
Daring medical.
Daring medical, daring security. I would probably allow either.
Okay, Eli, 13 your number.
Being a doctor, do I crit on?
You can crit on a 4 or Quentin. Daring medicine is an 8 for you. Janik is an 11. I'm gonna say Janik is an 11. That makes holy moly. Janik is like, I don't want no pheromones. Eli is like, I don't want your pheromones. And Quentin is like, oh, this is very nice. We should Quentin, you're feeling like you should probably listen to Dara now. definitely to tell you the best deal you can get out of it. You have a lot of faith that she's got your best. You don't know where the engineer from Leo went. Janek looks over at you, Eli, and says,
I am currently not swinging that way, I say as I inject myself.
he puts his hand on his belt and he says, oh, well, I was going to be done giving out guns. The minister of is going to my best. Once, don't trouble yourself. Why are you here?
That's
You know,
a
you
question
got me.
either of you can answer.
You got me. It's confusing, I say to throw things off.
Hello.
Oh, was I muted?
Well, I think we're waiting for Hippie.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. I was mute. Sorry. I apologize. She says, you'd be glad you're on the planet, sister. With or without the ships they have available. With or without the ships they have available, they I'm certain need in taking care of ships. The ships I was reported at. It was reported you brought your entire exploration. Is that true?
I mean, have you looked up within the last...
That's what's going on up there. What if none of your ships survive and you have to come to my ship?
I would rather commit seppuku.
Quentin, that sounds like a fabulous idea, honestly. I would rather commit seppuku. Meanwhile, Kara, make a piloting check.
There you go. 3 successes.
3 successes. Dodge and weave, and because you had a success on this round, the Athens, because of your fancy flying, spared any attacks from the enemy ships. Now, Baz, for me to make an enemy ship attack, it's Gunner making a what kind of a roll?
So it's a control security check. It depends on how skilled you want them to be. It goes from 9 to 15 in increments of 2.
Okay.
Plus the weapons security for the ship.
He shoots more of his fighters that point.
You know, it'd be really funny if Dara got a report about what's happening in orbit right now.
All right, that poor guy just shot more of his own. Maybe that's Darish. Who knows? This is the 2 slave masters. Oh man, no, they're not hitting anybody. And now D20.
Well, is it yeah, okay.
14. 2 successes. The gunner on the war barge manages to there's Kara, you've never accepted simulation flown through this kind of heavy fire. There are cannon shots, torpedoes, and explosions on every side of you. And you are forced to swerve and dip and hope that it'll dampen and keep up with what's going to with what is needed of you at the pilots. It's covered in hummus. The ensign, make sure the ensign knows that hummus is good for her. The Moon is rolling 12. He's getting Cooper on out where it's got to be, and Kara is this turn anyway. The Athens suffered no attacks. However, a disruptor cannon cuts across the Lido's hull, doing that where the explosives kind of cut a line almost in the hull, and explosions kick up along where the cannons trail. The thing to happen, whatever Reliant, meaning Captain Graves, Kara Junrani, Kendra, and Rick? Is Rick on an away team?
No, Rick's on the ship.
Rick.
Nope. I kept Rick on the ship.
Nice. Good call. Rick, you are needed in engineering desperately as explosions are rocking the ship around you. No panels have exploded yet.
Alright, so what checks do I need?
Okay.
So this is damage control, right?
Yes, it is.
So here we go.
Someone somewhere is definitely doing the Geordie dive. Run! You've got to dive out of engineering.
Here we go. Presence and engineering task.
Ooh. What is the present Rick tier? 10, 5, so 15. And yeah, you're trying to keep your main systems online, so I will let EPS power systems apply and let you crit on a 5 or below.
Okay, here we go.
Whoa, only success.
I
Real
haven't
quick,
seen-
is this
Hey,
being
we
used
got
with it?
we got a correct.
Hold on. Is this being used with the entire engineering squad? Because per your own instructions
automatic
previously, anytime the whole
success.
engineering squad is used, we automatically get a success.
That is true. For now, for now, you are very secure that you keep engineering from exploding. Nothing's actually hit your ship yet. Your shields are still fully operational. Rick.
Alright, I just finally got the actual results on my end, so it's I'm a bit laggy.
So the roll for Larissa, important roll. 2 successes. Reliance phasers arc through the sky, cutting a very nice line across one of the slave master battleships that is out there. The Larissa is wise enough to not attack the ship that Bryce and Waitley. So we see the slave master battleship get hit with the phaser beams, and their shields flicker and everything. On board that ship stuff is shaken, right? However, we now cut back to the bridge of the Reliant. What are Captain Graves and Kara?
Graves since Kara's a bit.
So,
I mean, I'm just concentrating on dodging. I don't have anything specific to do.
All right,
Unless
so
ordered.
we've hit that. Yeah, so we've hit that slave master with a phaser shot. It's taken some damage.
Its shields have taken. When you say it's
Yeah.
taken some damage, Larissa says, "I can report shield damage to that slave man," and her hands are flying all over the phone.
Yeah, so we've got this firefight situation. That's an expendable ship. Let's go ahead and first. Okay, so Baz, I wasn't able to take a look and memorize what traits we've got for the ship. You've been looking at those. Is there anything that would apply in this?
We've got. Let me just. I've got the. Not really in terms of talents. Power system, sick bay, and impulse. I don't think any of those would really.
Power systems put more power into it, get more out of that.
Power is sort of like a resource that the ship needs to manage. It doesn't.
Okay.
You can like put extra power in phasers to do more damage. But it's really up to you sort of have to do that.
All right. So we're gonna, I guess, keep firing, guys. It feels like we're missing. We do have a trump card to play at some point. Let's just go ahead and fire.
Hippie, if you're talking, you're muted.
I'm just saying that's both slave masters rolls that I just did. I was out loud that both of those are failures to connect with their intended targets.
So are you
Only
also
one
factoring in the fact
success.
they should also be getting random sub?
That's a good point. Baz, is there that chart that tells us some?
Yeah, just roll a d20 and I'll let you know.
Okay, 20 on the. It's an 11.
Which one?
That's on the ship that Bryson.
Okay.
So that's
Others-
pretty sure that's structure. Reroll structure. I don't.
You know what? Structure applies to the other slave master battleship. 18 applies to whatever to the ship that Bryce and Waitley.
Okay, that's weapon.
Weapons go offline and they don't hit away. And finally, 1d20 for the big ship. 10.
And that is structure.
Okay, so they both take some structural damage as they both take some structural damage as inertial dampeners go offline, putting extra pressure on some of the structural areas on the outside of. And we have reached 10 o'clock, and at that moment, as combat in the sky begins, in earnest, and for the first time since our Star Trek adventure has begun, your bridge shakes back and forth, and as actors you have to lean in one direction or the other to make it look realistic, as no panels around you. And for right now, the warp core is stable. You guys have not been hit yet, which is still very good. It's just the swerving to avoid being hit. It's that's making that. I know she can't. She can't. I'm gonna do one last moment with everyone. With every group. I know that she's putting the acting ensign to she's giving the acting ensign a bath, but on the bridge, as Kara swings the ship to and fro and now back another way, and Ensign Moon is like, I really am not loving this. This whole connecting with a robot thing is not really like is not really happy for him. And then Kendra leans against the chair. The ship is sailing to and fro. The chief at the operations department says, "Oh shit!" Like data right there. And Kendra, you lean against the chair, your stomach hurls, and your water breaks, and you go into labor on the bridge in the middle of combat. Cut Waitley and Bryce. That was my plan all along. This epic cliffhanger moment. I hope that's like a fun time. This is not relaxing. This is not relaxing me at all. I know this is going to be horrifying. Waitley, you and Bryce are Orion's open this big doorway that opens like curtain. They say the mistress is waiting.
Calling it. It's the niece.
Waitley nods and says, enters very confident.
Can I make can I use threat make things easier for myself?
Oh yeah. So you can use threat just as like we use momentum.
Oh really? Oh wow. That's awesome. How much how many more dice can roll right here?
So you can
Since I
use
have,
six momentum to give yourself 5 dice.
Oh, I'm gonna totally do that. I still have 6 I still have back, so that means 720.
That's 5d20. So
5D.
If he rolled 5 complications, I would die.
Reroll,
Do it,
man.
do it,
I
do
still
it,
have
do it,
6
do it,
left.
do it, do it,
I still
do it, do
have
it, do it.
6 left. It's 4. No, it's 5. Okay. Oh my god. This is the greatest day that has ever been a day.
Wait. Can we?
Ever been a day. Her back is kind of like beautiful, almost like Arabian sort of setup, like this small, beautiful, satiny, hanging Arabian type silks everywhere, and the chair turns around and dressed in a very common uniform, as if it were one of the Orion slaves, but allowed to wear shirt as well. It also doesn't have braces or head implants. As Alethian looks right at you, Waitley, looks at Bryce and says, "Oh, I can't do anything, but you." Ow! Successes on an opposed roll with your mental
Wait.
stuff.
Let Kendra type this out.
But.
No, Kendra. Okay. Go for it,
Okay.
Whaley!
Go for it, Waitley. Wow! And when he says that, you realize this is the same Thean who you encountered on Ryza.
How many dice does it take or how many momentum does it take to get one?
So for
Two
one dice,
dice.
it's 1. For the second dice, it's another 2, and for the third dice, 3. So it's 6 total.
He checked for
6
one.
totals.
He did. This one hid.
It's
that
just
was
a
what the roll
bow.
earlier was.
Take the hit to your pride. We don't need to spend momentum.
You
Yeah.
have six of it. Spend the
Well,
momentum,
something
man. Do what
tells
I did.
It's not going to be a matter of a hit to my pride, but yeah, let's just roll with that. Let's see what happens.
Wait, hold on.
Do what I did, man. Well, 5 dice. It's awesome. It's the
Well, that
best
means
thing
that we
I've
don't have
ever
any
done.
momentum. Well, that means we don't have any momentum left
It's the
for
end of
ship
the
combat.
game.
But at the same time, does it carry over to the next kind?
No, this time won't.
Then go ahead, yeah, don't
burn
let-
it all. Burn it all,
might as
Whately.
well spend it now.
You are
Burn it
fighting
all,
him
Whately.
with everything. So
Whately,
you're
come on,
rolling
come on.
5 dice. And
5 dice.
and hold on,
with-
is there any his focus or with do any focuses apply? Because he is just direct telepathic combat.
Yep, I'm looking at what he's
Uh,
got.
I'd say the needs of the and personal privacy
True. True. Personal privacy.
and psychology.
What is the best for defending
focus.
against somebody trying to make you do something you don't want to do?
Well, it depends. Is he going to try and control it, or is he going to try and fight through it? Like, how is he handling it?
Yeah, how do you want to
Reason
handle
command, I'd
this
say.
lately?
Reason command.
Generally, it's staring or control, and the reason why it's staring or control is depending on how you're mentally dealing with it. Are you keeping your mind in focus and control, or are you just sort of facing
also
the
be reasoning
threat
through
and
the-
doing like mental combat, like actual mental combat?
Well, I'd also say he could also be reasoning through what he's feeling from the Lethian and then using that for combat as well.
Eli is picking up what I was thinking. I wanted to see if there was a way I could push it back on him.
Okay, that's control. So you will be using control, which is 7, and command, which is 4. So your number is 11. You're rolling 5 dice at 11.
So do you
going
still
to let
have your
psychology apply.
do you still have your determination, or did
The
you use
Lethian
that?
burned it up, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yep. And
then his target range, what's his critical range?
critical range is 4. So 11 with a critical range of 4, and you have 5 dice.
Big money, no whammies.
4
Oh.
successes.
Wait, well, hold on. If I use determination, I can get us 3 momentum.
You
when we
don't.
roll.
You don't need to. You don't need to, and that's because this is another cliffhanger moment. Whately, he's stronger than you are, right? Because this was not expected. This caught you by surprise. This guy is really good at hiding presence. Even right now, looking right at him, you can't be 100% certain psychically where he's good. He's like really, really skilled telepathic. And for a moment you feel like you are going to bow, and then you hear kind of like, you remember what the childlike voice of the Horda sounded like in your mind.
Yeah.
And this kind of is an echo in your mind that says, want to break the fabric, take the power. And that's it. And then you're like, I did not just hear that. It's one of those, I didn't just hear some weird nonsense in my brain. What do you do?
Blinking. Insert white guy Whately blinking gif here. You guys know the gif I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
We know.
Do you bow or not?
Just imagine that's Whately.
I like that you both found it. You want to bow or not?
Well, if I don't have to bow,
I don't have to bow. I'm not going. Whately, you become 100% aware that you've just lost something and know what it is because you just lost it. Something inside of you just died. It went away. There is a momentary black void inside of you where something existed that doesn't anymore. And you don't have to bow, and you wanted him to bow. How do you tell him with your mind? Yeah. He stands up off of the chair. How are you? As he goes down to one knee. And we cut to we cut to John Cleese. John Cleese, some engineer who's also fairly good with explosives, who's a lot younger, and Oakley, because you have like magnets on you, he will like toss you mines and explosives and like tell you where to put them and set them up. And your objective, sabotage the war barge dreadnought from with big things go boom. Got it. And on the planet, Quentin makes a lot of sense. Eli, Danik says make very much sense at all, and need to get Quentin out of here. So how? And she says, so between us, Doctor, how many Lethean does it take to make a brain?
Blue, and I do not want that question. I just want to be a doctor.
Just want to stay on my ship and be it. I'm afraid that recent happening in the Syndicate have found us in desperate need for a doctor. Perhaps you'd like to work with the winning at the end.
Is this a choice, or is this like a sort of you're going to kind of like force me into it?
The War Minister will keep an eye on the coming and going of the Klingon Empire because of their position within the local government. Not killed. They do not hold position like the foolish woman on all of the posts. War Minister. The most they've ever had to worry about is how many machines of mass destruction around will hold an important. The new order of the Klingon Empire falls upon this planet. That's not something, but having a syndicate allied member of the government is not a bad thing. Perhaps Starfleet would like it.
I am confused as to what she's offering. Can you just sum it up, please?
She doesn't seem to be offering specific. She's just told you that she intends to, you're guessing through redistribution of advanced weapon to the populace, convince the war minister of this planet to support the Orion Syndicate by reporting on the KDF once the KDF arrive on it. And she says perhaps Starfleet would like in on this.
I'm pretty sure Starfleet doesn't do that sort of. Nor do I.
How boring. Quentin, is that your
Can be.
name? Commander, Lieutenant, what are those silver things on your neck mean? Doctor, are you here to take? Are you here to arrest?
Arrest you? No. What do I look like? I'm not a security officer. I don't got a gun. Look at me. I'm unarmed. We came down here for purely scientific purposes.
Science office security escort. You're here to learn about these. See if there's anything you can do to get them to support your Federation world.
You say peaceful, but we have the Andorians, we have the Tellarites who never stop arguing. We have the Bajorans who, for the longest time, were in fucking resistance against the Cardassian Empire. What part of peaceful is,
That's true. You are a rather warlike Starfleet, aren't you? We're all out of guns today, children. Matriarch provides. He doesn't really believe the matriarch provides. She says it. But it's obviously something she's been saying. Matriarch provides. So, what shall we do now? Shall I show you around and do my friends? Intend at the very least to take this one. Pokes Quentin in the chest. Back to home.
He has a pregnant
Isn't he married? That's so perfect.
Yeah, you're signing a death warrant. You are awaking a sleeping giant and giving them a great resolve.
That would be very bad.
Yeah, but those Bajorans I just mentioned? That's one of his wives. That's his wife. Sorry. That's his wife.
That's one I see.
No, I didn't say that. I corrected.
So, Doctor.
What?
This is the moment when it all is.
We could always
Let me ask you. Okay. You have command training according to everything to dig up about you. And she holds up a little, like, her pad is the size of a big cell phone, and she holds it up. You recognize something that only a couple of people on the ship would have memorized. Basically, anybody on command staff training, you, Bryce, the captain, and would have this series of numbers memorized.
Don't forget Kara had command training.
Oh, that's right. And Kara would recognize. But you definitely do, Doctor. That is Reliant harmonics. Like, you know how in Wrath of Khan, this is how we bring their shields down? And like shields on Enterprise went down, that kind of thing. That's exactly the code that she's showing you for Reliant. And there are 3 other codes on there that you can only guess belong to the other Starfleet. And she smiles. Now the question, and that is really enough for one night.